Good morning. It is now already 9:08. Can please the parties get seated and introduce their cards into the microphone so that we have a quorum and can start our work? Okay, good morning. We have quorum and I would like to start today's deliberation. But before going into the substance, I would give the floor to the Secretariat for some housekeeping announcements.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, delegates. In terms of housekeeping announcements for today, 26 November, there's a few. Kindly note that Norway has asked to be added to the working group on enhancing the work and efficiency of the convention, which was approved by the working group chair. The working group will take place at 5:30 instead of 5 p.m. today because of the bureau meeting that takes place before. There will be a public announcement system test today at 10 p.m. If delegates are still in the venue at 10 p.m., the sound announcement that you will hear is a drill. If you have rented an office in the venue and are intending to stay late, please take note of this public announcement system test at 10 p.m. today. There will also be another fire drill tomorrow at 7 a.m. on 27 November. If you are in the room, you will be asked to evacuate. In terms of voting, please do not forget your card. There were quite a few voting cards left in the machines yesterday. Please come to the voting technicians if you've left the card behind and you don't find it today. Also, concerning voting, we kindly remind parties and observers to remain seated during voting procedures and to not walk in or out of the room. We have received concerns from some parties about people taking photos and filming using their personal device. We would like to remind you that recording of any kind is not allowed after the first 10 minutes of each session. So whether delegates or media, image and video recording is only allowed in the room during the first 10 minutes, and then delegates will have to stop taking such recordings and media colleagues will have to be in the media section at the back of the room. Under Committee 1, the working group on Boswellia species will meet today at 12:15 p.m. in the Black Stork room. And finally, kindly note that the summary records for the first sessions of Committee 1 and 2 have been published on the website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. So we will go back to where we ended yesterday at 5 o'clock. We have looked at document CoP20, Doc 102, considering the lookalike criterion. So we ended up with no consensus on what we want to have being done. We had the proposal from the UK that is contained in the document. We had a compromise proposal from me as chair, and we had a proposal from the EU, but I think, if I remember correctly, the EU was in agreement with my proposed compromise decision. And we didn't reach agreement, and I sent you off yesterday to see if you could talk to each other and reach a compromise that we may be able to accept. So with this, I would like to give the floor first to the UK and then to the EU to see if we have some ground for compromise here. So I open the floor for the UK. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I understand that many parties were unable to hear my introduction due to interpretation issues, so I hope the Chair will allow me to repeat myself shortly. Distinguishing similar species in trade can be extremely challenging, and lookalike listings remain vital for ensuring sustainable international trade, that threatened species receive the protection they require. The UK fully supports the role of lookalike listings in effective CITES implementation, and there is no intention for this document to reopen or amend the listing criteria in Resolution COP 9.24. However, there is currently no guidance on how this criterion should be applied, and this can create ambiguity with broad and subjective interpretation. This can complicate the development and assessment of listing proposals. We have not heard from organisations such as IUCN and Traffic in this discussion, and their views would be helpful, bearing in mind the important role that they play in providing analysis of listing proposals. And while we appreciate the EU's compromise to have the technical committees consider parties' responses to the notification called for under 20AA a, there is a risk these responses may only represent the views of a limited subset of parties. Some parties with limited resources may not have capacity to respond to notifications. These parties are likely to face different challenges related to the lookalike criterion rather than better resourced parties. By only looking at the responses to the notification, the technical committees may not get a full understanding of the challenges associated with implementing lookalike listings. And whereas the provision of a synthesized report with case studies would provide the technical committees with a more comprehensive understanding of parties' experiences with the lookalike criteria and allow them to develop guidance for parties who need it most. The report is subject to external funding and therefore should have limited impact on the Secretariat's core workload. Indeed, without the report, the workload of the Secretariat is potentially greater. Unfortunately, we have not been able to reach a compromise overnight with other parties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK. I now give the floor to the European Union. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. We still don't see the need for a general guidance on this topic and consider that Resolution CONF 9.24 provides sufficient information on this matter. Moreover, we still think that the proposed procedure and development of guidance would tie up additional resources. However, we try to come to compromise, to send out a notification and to have a discussion in Animals and Plants Committee. But as said already by the United Kingdom, we did not come to a compromise here.
Thank you, European Union. This means we would need to have some more discussion. Otherwise, if there is no agreement, we can also go to a vote. But first, I would like to give hear some more views from the room where the preference of the room is, and then I would probably have to go to a vote according to the rules of procedure. So I see Traffic. Traffic, you have the floor. Traffic, did you want to take the floor, or is that is there a technical issue?
Here, yeah, there was a problem with the mic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. This intervention is on behalf of Traffic and IUCN. we welcome this document and support the adoption of the draft decisions as originally proposed by the UK and amended by the Secretariat and further the UK again. The review of how the Lookalike criterion is applied is both timely and important. Recently, Traffic and the IUCN have observed an increasing number of proposals to include species in the appendices, primarily because they resemble listed species, even when international trade regulation does not seem necessary to ensure effective control of trade in the species listed for conservation reasons. In several cases, the lookalike species do not share trade routes or risk profiles with the species actually requiring regulation, and the likelihood of confusion among recent enforcement officers appears low. We recognize that similar challenges arise from higher taxon listings and from sound-alike species included as a result of taxonomic revisions, where evidence is limited that such listings are needed to help control trade in already listed taxa. We therefore welcome the proposal from the UK to review and clarify the interpretation and implementation of the lookalike criterion. We support the draft decisions aimed at gathering information, conducting case studies, and developing practical guidance to ensure that listings are proportionate, evidence-based, and in the best interest of the species concerned, so that trade does not threaten their survival. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Traffic. I have United States of America. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States is willing to go with the compromise suggested by the Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. In terms of voting, we have rule 2027, I think, where it lays out how we have to deal with votings on decisions. And according to that rule, we would have to start with the set of decisions that is furthest away from the original one presented by the UK. At the moment, we have the compromise proposal. It's Rule 23. Okay. We have the compromise proposal from the chair, and we have the proposal from the UK. But to be sure that we really only have these two possibilities, I have to ask the EU if they are in agreement. If they are in agreement with the proposal that the chair made yesterday. I will read it out. Don't worry, but if they are in agreement with that, then we only have two sets of decisions to look at. So EU, can you please confirm that?
Can they repeat what is the compromise?
Thank you, Chair. First, could you please repeat and make clear what exactly your compromise would look like? And after that, we can decide whether we have another wording which is maybe further away and should be voted on before. Thank you.
Okay, so my proposal was In 20AA, we keep A. Letter B would be struck out. So letter C would become letter B and would read, compile the information received from parties under 20AA little a and provide a summary for consideration by the Standing Committee and Animals and Plants Committees. And then decisions 20BB and 20CC would remain the same. So that was my proposal as a compromise. While the EU is reflecting on that one, I give the floor to Switzerland. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As of now, we do not exactly understand the opposition of the European Union to 20AA little b, since the study would be subject to external funding, as has been mentioned yesterday already. It might be helpful to reach consensus if the EU could explain why they, despite that fact, are not supporting 20AA little b, and maybe we can still avoid to having a vote on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Switzerland. So what you are saying is, EU, please explain why you wouldn't want to have that study being done, because it would be subject to external funding. So, but okay, that is your request. So while we wait for the EU, now the EU is ready. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So on the request from Switzerland, we believe that such a study should be carefully prepared for, and that the technical committees would have a word on the terms of reference for such a study. I think we mentioned that yesterday in the committee as well, that we feel that this should first be discussed in the technical committees. Regarding the wording of the Chair's compromise, we could in principle live with that, but we have some minor additions, or additions which we feel are necessary to keep it open, not to run into recommendations if the committees decide this is maybe not necessary because they didn't discuss this item already. So in 20BB, directed to the Animals and Plants Committees, it would read, and other relevant information, I read it out fully, sorry. 20BB, the Animals and Plants Committees shall consider the information compiled, because there is no report, under decision 20AAB. So there is a change here, which is necessary because B is striked out. And other relevant information, and this is now new, if deemed necessary, and then the rest continues as before, make recommendations and so on. Was that clear?
So it would read, the Animals and Plants Committee shall consider the information gathered under decision 20AAC and other relevant information, and if deemed necessary, make recommendations in relation to the implementation and so on.
Yeah,
right?
It would be 20AAB because, sorry, C, I think. Wouldn't.
No, it would be B.
B, because C, sorry, it would be B because we striked out one of the subparagraphs there. And if I may, I continue.
Yes, go ahead.
Directed to the Standing Committee. 20CC, the Standing Committee shall consider the recommendations, comma, if any, comma, of the Animals and Plants Committee, and shall submit, comma, if deemed necessary, recommendations, and so on, as it was before. So I can read it out in full length. 20cc, the Standing Committee shall consider the recommendations, comma, if any, of the Animals and Plants Committee and shall submit, comma, if deemed necessary, comma, recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. It's necessary to strike out the report because there is no report. I need to drink some.
Okay, we got that, and as author of the compromise, I could also live with these. I see now we have two parties asking for the floor, which are Colombia. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colombia, en nombre de Brasil, Uruguay, Guatemala, Belice, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Argentina y Panamá, quiere sugerir un par de cambios y principalmente, y frente a la propuesta que hace el presidente, quisiéramos mantener y vemos valor en mantener el literal B de la decisión 20AA, considerando la importancia de poder contar con un informe y con un estudio que recopile mayor información. Los cambios serían los siguientes. En la decisión 20AA, literal A, cambiar la palabra interpretación por aplicación. Consideramos que es una palabra más adecuada. En el literal B, vamos a eliminar la palabra estudio y sugerimos con toda la información compartida por las partes y con estudios de caso. Consideramos y vemos un valor importante para las partes contar la información, no solamente un resumen de esta. En el literal C de esa misma decisión, en el renglón 3, luego de donde dice y proporcionar un resumen junto con, y aquí insertaríamos toda la información proporcionada para las partes. Y finalmente, en el literal que está dirigido a los comités de fauna y flora, 20BB, eliminaríamos el informe y se incluiría el resumen y toda la información. Gracias, señor presidente.
Colombia, can you please repeat the first part? We didn't quite capture what you wanted to have changed in 20AAB.
Claro que sí. En el 20AA, literal B, quedaría con sujeción a la disponibilidad de financiación externa, coma, eliminaríamos la palabra estudio e incluiríamos un análisis con toda la información compartida por las partes y seguiría estudios de caso según proceda.
Thank you. I will take some 3 more parties, and please reflect on what you have heard as changes proposed by the EU and also from Colombia and others that have shared some more additions. So I see Japan. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. And Japan prefers the original text, written in the original document, but we are in a position to accept the proposed amendment by Colombia in terms of regarding the paragraph, this draft decision 20AA, subparagraph B. But I sincerely ask the Chair to read out the current compromise solution before making the decision here. Thank you very much.
Japan, sorry, I didn't quite understand what you wanted me to read out again. Did you want me to read out again the compromise with the amendments by the EU?
Thank you, Chair. Well, there are quite many amendments made by some parties, so we are not sure the current compromise solution, compromise text as a whole.
Okay, I can do that. But first, before, okay, I think it's good if I read out the current status of the compromise, which is we have decision 20AA, the Secretariat shall. We have letter A, which remains the same. Then we have B, which is struck out. And we have C, which becomes a new B, which reads, compile the information received from parties under 20AA and provide a summary for consideration by the Standing Committee and the Animals and the Plants Committees. That's AA, and then BB would read, the Animals and Plants Committee shall consider the information gathered under Decision 20AAB and other relevant information and, if deemed necessary, make recommendations in relation to the implementation of Criterion A of Annex B and so on for the consideration to the Standing Committee. And the decision 20CC directly to the Standing Committee would read, the Standing Committee shall consider the summary of all information gathered. No, shall consider the recommendations, if any, of the Animals and Plants Committee, and shall submit, if deemed necessary, recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. So that's the compromise. And what we have heard from Colombia is, if I understood correctly, Colombia would want to retain the proposed decisions from the UK, but would like to have amendments to these decisions from the UK, so to that first original set. Japan, is it clear now what we have in front of us?
Thank you very much for the clarification. Well, as we stated yesterday, we still think the original one is much, much better. This is a positive proposal, trying to clarify the issues based on science. So we still think the original one is better, and we now understand the status quo. But it is too soft, to be honest, from our point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. I will take now 4 parties, and then we will probably have to go for a vote because we do have really different views, 2 different views here that we have to resolve, and I don't want to go on much longer. Maybe first I will ask the UK if they would be in agreement with the proposed amendments by Colombia. So, UK?
Thank you, Chair. I just hit the buzzer to say that, yes, we're very happy to accept those amendments from Colombia and others. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Gabon. Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. En dépit des explications apportées par l'Union européenne, je suis contrainte de vous dire que je n'ai pas saisi les explications. Aussi, le Gabon soutient le maintien du texte 102 et nous pouvons abonder dans le sens de la Colombie avec les amendements qui ont été apportés, car à nos yeux, l'étude est vraiment importante. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Gabon. I see Congo. Congo, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Congo également soutient le maintien du texte original, mais vu les amendements apportés par la Colombie, nous pensons que nous sommes d'accord avec ces amendements. Merci.
New Zealand, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, in line with Gabon, our preference was the original text, followed by Colombia's amendments. We don't agree with the European Union compromise that you have suggested. I think that would put unfair weight onto the Animals and Plants Committee's already heavy workload, and I think their most recent amendments are sort of anticipating that this would go round and round in circles at the Animals and Plants Committee, and they wouldn't end up with any recommendations for the Standing Committee. So I would support the original, followed by Colombia, followed by not supporting EU, put it that way.
I see Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada would also like to support the amendments as proposed by Colombia and others. Thank you.
Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia would also like to support the amendments put forward by Colombia and support the comments just made by New Zealand.
Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine soutient la proposition initiale du Royaume-Uni avec les changements mineurs apportés, surtout pour le maintien du point B, et que l'étude soit réalisée et avec l'autre proposition qui vient d'être formulée par la Colombie. Merci.
Thank you. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify that with regard to the proposal of Colombia, we don't really understand what the difference between an assessment and a study would be. Therefore, we disagree with this. And regarding the question from Gabon on what is the explanation of what we want is that the technical committees first discuss before we undertake any assessment or study. And I think it's fair enough to have these committees have a say, even though, of course, this increases the... Sorry? Did you cut me? Do you hear me still?
No?
Hello? Sorry, I was cut. I'm sorry, I thought you cut me because I'm speaking too long.
I would warn you first.
Thank you very much. That's much appreciated. So the technical committees should have a word, and I think we have these committees exactly to take decisions, wise decisions on substantive matters such as we are discussing right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, EU. I see Israel.
Thank you, Chair. We align ourselves with the position of the European Union and its 27 member states. And we thank you, Chair, for your compromise wording, which we can accept. The way the original text had was that this assessment or study would go to the Secretariat, Standings Committee, Annals Committee, and Plans Committee all at once, and then the Secretariat would somehow comprise all this and present it to the next COP. The European Union's suggestion and your compromise sets it in a far more logical order, in our opinion, to first have it analyzed by the technical committees, and then they will deem to what extent they can comprise it into a report to the COP. So it reduces the workload on the Secretariat and puts the onus, or puts the importance of this work on the technical committees, which makes a lot of sense to us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Israel. I will call some more parties, and please be really brief. Just tell me which of the two sets you are supporting so that I have a better view. It is Burundi.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, de la parole. Le Burundi prend la parole pour soutenir les amendements formulés par la Colombie. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Sierra Leone, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Sierra Leone support to retain the original text proposed by the United Kingdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Malaysia.
Thank you, Chair. Malaysia would like to support proposal made by Colombia. Thank you.
Thank you. China.
Thank you, Chair. China also wants to support the revision made by the Colombia. Thank you.
So next one is Tonga. Thank you.
Tonga would like to support revision by Colombia, supported by New Zealand and Australia. Thank you.
DRC, please.
Merci, Président, pour la parole. Nous soutenons la proposition initiale, mais dans le contexte, nous souscrivons à ce que la Colombie a donné comme amendement. Merci.
United States.
Thank you, Chair. We support the EU and the Chair's compromise. Thank you.
Brazil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Of course, we support the proposal of Colombia. As Colombia said, it was on our behalf as well. But I'd like to ask for a clarification. The EU brought us to attention that they don't see many difference between an analysis, which is the proposal from Colombia, and a study, which was the original one. So I'd like to ask the Secretary, what would be the difference between a study and an analysis, just for us to understand if there is going to be a substantial difference between both proposals. Thank you very much.
In the meantime, I would like to ask Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Chair. Republic of Korea was supposed to original draft decision of UK and amendment by Colombia. Thank you, Chair.
Philippines.
Thank you, Chair. The Philippines finds the original text sufficient. However, we welcome the comment of the Colombia to further improve the draft. Thank you.
Thank you. Mexico.
Sí, gracias, señor presidente. México también apoya la propuesta de Reino Unido con las enmiendas de Secretaría, pero podríamos también apoyar las enmiendas de Colombia. Gracias.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Puisque c'est la première fois que la Côte d'Ivoire prend la parole dans ce comité, permettez-moi de féliciter le gouvernement de l'Ouzbékistan et le secrétariat de la CITES pour l'excellente organisation de la COP20 et pour l'hospitalité. La Côte d'Ivoire soutient la proposition du Royaume-Uni ainsi que les amendements proposés par la Colombie. Je vous remercie.
I have 3 more parties, then I will close the list. So Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal supporte le compromis proposé par le Président. Merci.
Now I open the floor for Burkina Faso.
Ok, merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Comme c'est la première fois que le Burkina Faso prend la parole, je voudrais saluer la belle organisation de cet événement par la République d'Ouzbékistan et saluer également la belle conduite des débats par votre Excellence. Le Burkina Faso soutient la proposition de la Grande-Bretagne et amendée donc par la Colombie. Je vous remercie.
And last speaker, Botswana.
We support the UK proposal and the improvement brought in by Colombia. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me quickly reflect and then I will come back. In terms of the question asked by Brazil, I would give the floor to the Secretariat to maybe say what their view is on the difference between a study and an assessment or analysis. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Brazil, for the question. What is the difference? Clearly there isn't necessarily an absolute dividing line between the two. But I think in this respect, a study would require the engagement of a consultant, and that consultant would, as well as looking at information by parties, go out and try and seek information and gather case studies that might not have been provided by the parties. The assessment or analysis we would see probably as being a lighter touch report. But it would still need to be engage an external consultant. It wouldn't be done in-house by Secretariat staff, but it would take any information gathered through the notification and any case studies submitted and collate, compile and analyze those rather than going out looking for new additional information. So that probably is a division. It's a lighter touch assessment than you would do under a full study, perhaps. I don't know if that helps, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I now see Colombia for last intervention. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Disculpas por tomar la palabra de nuevo. Solamente quisiéramos dar claridad en que en la versión en español había dos momentos en los que se mencionaba estudio y estudio de caso, y realmente era un ajuste gramatical en la versión en español, solamente para dar claridad sobre el alcance. Gracias.
Okay, we will look at it with the translators then. Okay, having heard many interventions, my sense of the feeling in the room is that the majority wants to go with the original proposed decisions by the UK with the amendments made by Colombia. And that would be my conclusion of this debate. So we don't have to go to a vote. I think this is the general sense in the room. I see the European Union. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and we have a little different view on this. I might have forgotten to mention, but I was speaking on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. Maybe you didn't count for those, but it would be fair enough to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, European Union, for reminding me. I was quite aware of that. So in this case, I have to ask you if you want to go for a vote, because otherwise my conclusion was that the general sense of the room was tending towards the UK proposal. But if you do not agree, then you can ask to go for a vote, of course.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is our impression as well. Yeah, thanks.
European Union, as I'm doing this the first time here in a committee where there is a lot of votes, so I have to be clear whether you are challenging my ruling, because my ruling was that I thought that the majority was in favor of supporting the UK proposal. So if you are challenging my ruling, then we would have to go for a vote on my ruling.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, we're challenging your ruling, and we believe we have to go to vote. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we will have a vote whether my ruling saying that that Committee 1 is in agreement with the UK proposal with the amendments of Colombia is correct or not. I see the United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We just seek clarification on whether this is the right question to be asked. The decisions have to be reached by a 2/3 majority. You're asking whether the chair is right that a simple majority? We think the only way to answer that is to have an actual vote on the proposals. Thank you.
Well, we are back. You see, we are quite. It's quite a complicated situation because if we only would vote on whether my ruling was correct or not, it would be a procedural vote. But the problem is if my ruling would be looked at correct, if the room would be of the view that my ruling was correct, then it would become substantial, because then it would mean that the proposal of the EU of the UK would have been accepted with the amendments by Colombia. So I'm not really comfortable with going to a vote now on this motion. So in my view, it would be better if we vote on these two sets of decisions according to Rule 23. I think that would be the better way forward. So I propose to go for a vote on these two sets of decisions, and in accordance with Rule 23, we would start with a vote on the proposal from the chair, the compromise proposal from the chair as amended by the EU as a first vote. And if that is not carried, then we would vote on the decisions proposed by the UK with the amendments of Colombia. Does that sound in order? I see Japan. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, general sense of the room is that we support the original text with Colombian amendment, but EU intervenes that saying that they have 27 members. Then, Chair, our understanding is that Chair's ruling is that we go for original proposal with Colombian amendment, and we were supposed to vote for this ruling is yes or no. But then you are proposing another thing, and it seems to be the counting seems to be different. I think we need more clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. I see Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Effectivement, c'est dans le même sens que le Japon. Nous pensons qu'ici, nous avons deux avis. Donc, le texte initial tel que proposé par le Royaume-Uni est amendé par la Colombie et la proposition de l'Union européenne. Maintenant, s'il y a encore un texte de compromis qu'on veut ajouter, on veut que nous soyons éclairés à propos pour que le vote soit clair. Merci.
Thank you. No, we are only having two sets of the decisions. We have the one that the chair made as a compromise that has been amended by the EU, so that the EU is also in agreement with this one. And we have the set of the decisions from the UK, which has been amended by Colombia and supported by many in the room here. But we don't have a clear separation now. As the EU stated, they have 27 members, 27 votes, and that didn't appear in all the statements of the parties. So that's why I think we need to go for a vote on these two sets of decisions. I see Israel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Since, as you proposed, there are basically two different proposals on the floor, then the vote should be either choose A or B, and whoever doesn't want A or B can choose C, which is neither. The system has the ability to have three possibilities. Your proposal to vote first on one, yes or no, and then the other one, yes or no, seems more complicated. So we would suggest just pitting them against each other in a vote.
I would ask the Secretariat to clarify why we cannot do this. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In answer to the comment made by Israel, this voting system only allows answers yes, no, or abstain. So it's not possible to bid two proposals against each other. It has to be taken in a certain order. And in conformity with Rule 23, paragraph 6 of the Rules of Procedures, when two or more amendments are moved to a draft resolution, draft decision, or other document, the conference shall first decide on the amendment furthest removed in substance from the original text. The rules apply to the committee, which is why the chair proposed that there would be first a vote on the chair's compromised and EU amendments, and then a vote on the EU text with amendments from Colombia, since the UK, with amendments from Colombia, since the chair's EU text is the one furthest removed from the original proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat, for this clarification. I see Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme venaient de dire certains, il y a un peu de confusion dans mon esprit parce que je pensais qu'on devait voter sur deux propositions. La première qui concerne celle formulée par le Royaume-Uni et amendée par la Colombie, et le contre-pied qui est l'UE, même si l'UE a 27 pays, bon, mais nous sommes là, en tant que parti, procéder de cette manière, je pense que c'est plus compréhensible pour moi, contrairement à ce que venait de dire le secrétariat. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Central African Republic. Well, the rules are as they are. They have been adopted by the parties, and Rule 23 is quite clear on that one, that we first have to vote on the set of decisions which are furthest away from the original one from the UK. So, and we have the chair's compromise, which is away from the UK proposal. So we have to first vote on that set of decision before we can vote on the UK proposal. I see Gabon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Il me semble que la recommandation du document 102 est la suivante. La conférence des parties est invitée à examiner les projets de décision sur l'interprétation de l'article 2B de la Convention et l'interprétation et l'application du critère A de l'annexe 2B de la résolution Conf 9.24 Rêve COP17. Donc, il nous convient ici de voter pour ce texte ou pas. Et le vote est exclusif si ce texte est adopté par la conférence des parties. Donc, les propositions amendées par l'Union européenne ne sont pas prises en compte. C'est ma compréhension. Merci.
Gabon, I think the interpretation of Rule 23 is different, and we are talking about we are adopting resolutions or decisions. Here we are adopting decisions, and the Rule 23 is quite clear in what order this has to be done if we have to go for a vote. So I think we really have to go along that path because there has been no consensus in the room and no clear majority as well. So I go now to New Zealand, and then I will proceed to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. A number of parties have said that their first preference would be the original proposal from the United Kingdom. And then my understanding is that that is no longer on the table, so it's a choice either between the original proposal as amended by Colombia or the proposal amended by the EU. So could you just clarify that the original proposal from the United Kingdom is no longer on the table, so people have to make a decision between the two compromises? Thank you.
Thank you. New Zealand, basically you are correct. So we would vote on two sets of amended decisions, but still we have to take first the set of the decisions that is furthest away from the original one, which in my view is the compromise proposal from the chair, and then we will vote on the amended set of decision by Colombia. So it's still in this order that we have to proceed according to the rules of procedure. And this being a substantive matter, of course, we will need to have, to pass, it will need to have a two-thirds majority. Okay. Okay, so now we will first proceed to a vote on the compromise set of the criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP17, their experiences of using criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP17 when compiling or evaluating a listing proposal, and any problems or benefits regarding implementation and regulation of the species on the CITES resulting from lookalike listings. B, compile the information received from parties under 20AA and provide a summary for consideration by the Standing Committee and Animals and Plants Committees. Then Decision 20BB, directed to the Animals and Plants Committees. The Animals and Plants Committees shall consider the information gathered under Decision 20AAB and other relevant information, and, if deemed necessary, make recommendations in relation to the implementation of Criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP17, for consideration to the Standing Committee as appropriate. And then 20CC, directed to the Standing Committee. The Standing Committee shall consider the recommendations, if any, of ACE Animals Committee and Plants Committee, and shall submit, if deemed necessary, recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. So if you press yes, you are supporting these decisions. If you press no, you do not support these decisions. So the voting type is by normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the delegation of the EU. Since this is a substantive matter,
I think it's member states.
Sorry?
Member states. One or two, I think they said it's member states. Maybe it was in the clarify.
Just to be clear, EU, are you, according to your document on this matter, the member states, they would vote individually. Is that correct?
Yes, this is correct. This is the vote individually by the member states.
Okay. So the vote of the European Union will be cast by the individual member states, and since this is a vote on a substantive matter, 2/3 majority will be required. So are we ready to go?
Yes, Chair, we are ready. Just to be clear, on the podium, the voting item will appear as item 02, Amendment 2, because it's farther away from the original proposal. That's why it will appear as Amend 2, and the next item will appear as Amend 1. So for this one, it will be item 102, Amend 2. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and now please remain seated during the voting. Don't walk around. Please remain seated, don't leave the room. So with this, parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. I see Congo DRC, you're asking for the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. On s'excuse pour avoir demandé la parole, mais nous avons demandé la parole avant les élections. Malheureusement, vous ne l'avez pas accordé parce que nous voulions avoir les précisions sur quoi exactement nous devons voter et avoir des exactes précisions. Mais malheureusement, vous ne nous avez pas donné la parole. Et voilà, merci.
Central African Republic, you have the floor.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, c'est toujours pour question de compréhension. Vous avez dit 002 et 001. Ça, c'est pour 002 représente quoi et 001 représente quoi? Ça, c'est de 1. Et de 2, par exemple, sur le tableau qui s'affiche ici, j'ai seulement que original. Je n'ai pas ces différents. Oui, non ou abstention, je n'ai pas ça pour appuyer. Je fais comment?
Central African Republic, I didn't quite understand what the problem was. So you couldn't vote, you couldn't use the voting system, or what was the problem?
Oui, je n'ai pas pu voter parce que sur le tableau ici, il n'y a que seulement original qui s'affiche. Je ne vois pas où appuyer. Voilà ma préoccupation. C'est la même chose pour le Tchad. Je ne suis pas le seul. Le Tchad aussi a cette même préoccupation.
Okay, maybe it is a problem of credentials. So maybe that the chair of the credential committee, if he is in the room, could maybe clarify whether these parties do have credentials or not. Because if you don't have them, then you wouldn't be able to vote on the system. Yes, Central African Republic.
Monsieur le Président, la République centrafricaine a bel et bien soumis sa lettre de créance. Et ça a été déjà validé. J'ai reçu les cartes pour voter. Voilà.
Perfect. So I was just informed that the Chad doesn't have voting rights, but you do. But I think I will ask the technicians to come to you to see what is happening. They are checking in the system what went wrong there. I see Cameroon. Cameroon, you have the floor.
parler. Oui, merci de la parole donnée, Monsieur le Président. Le Cameroun également fait face à une confusion et n'a pratiquement pas compris le processus de vote et souhaite des clarifications sur les choix et si possible qu'on nous permette de revoter parce que nous avons juste appuyé un bouton au hasard parce que les délais impartis étaient écoulés. Mais en réalité, nous n'avons pas du tout compris quel est le choix qu'il fallait faire. Les clarifications dans ce sens nous seraient utiles. Merci. Excusez-moi, Monsieur le Ministre.
Thank you, Cameroon. I see Gabon. Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je crois qu'il y a vraiment des questions de compréhension et c'est très important que nous comprenions bien ce qui nous est demandé dans le cadre de ce vote. Alors, le Gabon avait une question toute simple. Serait-il possible d'afficher à l'écran ce qui est demandé et ensuite procéder à un nouveau vote? Je vous remercie.
I don't think we can present that on the screen, but I have tried to explain what we are voting on, and apparently we have had technical issues, and I hope the technicians will be able to solve them, and then we will vote again on the same issue, and I will explain exactly what we will be voting on. And I hope it will be understandable to everybody so that we can then proceed. I see Mali. Mali, you have the floor.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Le Mali rencontre le même problème. Je pense que sur le console, il est affiché original et on n'a pas pu aussi voter, quoi. Je pense que les techniciens peuvent passer aussi pour voir ce qu'il y a lieu de faire. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mali. So technicians, please look also what happened with Mali. Okay, we seem to have had some technical issues on the voting system, so they have been revamping the whole thing. So before we actually do go for a vote, we have to do another test vote. Huh? And I will come back as soon as the technicians are ready to do another test vote to make sure that the system works now. So please bear with me on this one. Okay, we are ready to go at it again. So the question is, do you still like Mai Tais? If you press yes, you still like Mai Tais. If you press no, you still don't like Mai Tais. If you abstain, you're not really sure anymore. So this is a vote whether you like Mai Tais. The voting type is normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the individual member states. Since this is a vote on a procedural matter, a simple majority will carry. So are we ready, technicians? Good. So parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now.
Explaining to them when you say, there's two proposals on the table.
So thank you. Well, the attractiveness of Mai Tais has been going down. We have 93 votes. Technicians, can you please show the results on the screen? So we have 93 votes for Mai Tais, 19 against, and 14 who don't care. So
Maybe ask if anyone had any challenge during.
yes. So did anyone have any challenge in proceeding to that vote? Did we have a problem anywhere? Okay, it doesn't look like so. So now I will explain a second time what we will be voting on. We have discussed at length. Can you please remove that from the screen? We have discussed at length the decisions that are contained in document CoP20 102 on lookalike species. During the discussions, we have ended up with two sets of decisions that are not compatible with each other. One set of decisions was a compromise proposal by the chair, amended by the EU. That's one set of decisions. The second set of decisions is the original one from the UK, amended by Colombia. We now have to decide which of these two sets of decisions, if any, we adopt, we agree on. And by Rule 23 of the Rules of Procedure of the Convention, we have to first decide on the set of decisions which is furthest away from the original set of decisions. And if you look at these two sets of decisions, the compromise, this set of decisions from the chair is furthest away from the original one. So we have to first vote on this set of decisions. And then, if this is agreed, if this is adopted, then we don't have to vote on the second set of decisions. If this is defeated, we still then vote on the second set of the decisions, being the ones from the UK as amended by Colombia. Okay? Any questions on that? Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Il y a toujours du flou dans ma tête. Si vous pouvez reprendre ce qu'il faut faire exactement pour ce deuxième vote.
I've only been explaining what we will be voting on. The vote isn't now. I just explained what we will be voting on and why. Once we will proceed to the vote, I will again read out what you will be voting on, what a yes and a no will mean, and then you can vote. Okay? I see Japan. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what we are voting for now is the farthest from the original. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, absolutely. So first we will vote on the chair's proposal amended by the EU. And then if that doesn't pass, we will vote on the UK proposal as amended by Colombia. Okay. So this is a vote for decisions under CoP20 102. It is the chair's compromise set of decisions as amended by the EU, and it reads as follows. The set of decisions are directed to the Secretariat 20AA. The Secretariat shall issue a notification inviting parties to submit information on their interpretation of criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP17, their experiences of using criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP17, when compiling or evaluating a listing proposal, and any problems or benefits regarding implementation and regulation of the species on the CITES resulting from lookalike listings. B, compile the information received from parties under 20AA and provide a summary for consideration by the Standing Committee and Animals and Plants Committees. Decision 20BB, directed to the Animals and Plants Committees. The Animals and Plants Committees shall consider the information gathered under Decision 20AA, letter B, and other relevant information, and, if deemed necessary, make recommendations in relation to the implementation of criterion A of Annex 2B of Res Conf 924, Ref Conf 17, for consideration to the Standing Committee as appropriate. And Decision 20CC, directed to the Standing Committee. The Standing Committee shall consider the recommendations, if any, of the Animals and Plants Committees, and shall submit, if deemed necessary, recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. So this set of decision you are voting on now. So the vote is a normal vote. The vote of the European Union will cast by its individual member states. As this is a substantive matter, 2/3 majority is required. So technicians, are we ready to go for a vote? There are still people walking around. Please get seated and remain seated during the vote, please. Are we ready now? Okay, we are ready. So, parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Okay, can you please display the results? So the result of the vote is 59 votes against the set of decisions and 59 in favor of the set of decision and 63 votes against. So this set of decision is not approved. So now we will vote, we'll go to the second vote, as this set of decision has not been accepted. And we now will be voting on the, I see Brazil. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Now I have a question. Since the proposal from the EU was not approved, then now we have to vote the last proposal. So what would happen if we don't approve that proposal? And a follow-up question, then if we don't approve neither of proposal, what will happen? So I think it's an important question before we move forward. Thank you.
Brazil, in my understanding, if we vote now and we don't have a decision, then we don't have a decision, and I will move to the next agenda item, because then we don't have anything that we have that we can come out of this exercise, and we will have to move on to the next agenda items. That's my understanding. Brazil?
Thank you for your clarification. Then I would make a suggestion for you, Mr. Chair, is to ask for the floor if there would be consensus on the approval of this following proposal, since we already rejected the other one, so that we would at least try to have a consensual decision in this matter. Thank you.
New Zealand?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted clarification on the circumstances of which the votes from various parties are actually shown on the screens. I know that's usual for when we go to proposals, except for in secret votes, but I didn't believe this was a secret vote, so I was just wondering, is that going to be displayed somewhere, or?
Thank you, New Zealand. I give the floor to the Secretariat to explain when and how these names are being displayed. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is correct. If it's not a secret ballot, we do display the names on the screen, and we can ask the technicians to do so now. Apologies for omitting that.
Coming back to Brazil, it would be nice if we could have now a consensus in the room. I can try that, but I don't have very, I don't think this will happen. It would be nice, so I would ask whether in the room there are parties who are still opposing to the document or this set of decision from the UK amended by Colombia. If I see parties not in favor of that, then we will have to proceed to the vote. I see Israel. Israel, you have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, we oppose the decisions as they are in the document. And second of all, you've already called a vote. And according to the rules of procedure, there shouldn't really be a discussion. We should be proceeding directly to the vote.
Thank you, Cyril. I agree, and I think we will therefore have to go to a second vote. New Zealand, you have the floor.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chair. The full list of the votes were not shown on the screen. We got up to about G or H in the alphabet.
So we will wait until we have seen all names, and then we will proceed to the next vote. Okay, now we have seen all of them. I think Japan was asking for the floor, so Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have the similar question with Brazil, and we are going to vote for the original proposal with Colombian amendment from now. But if that is not adopted, what will happen to the original proposal? Thank you.
The original proposal has been, the UK accepted the amendments made by Colombia, so the original proposal does not exist anymore. So the amended proposal supersedes the original one. Okay, just to be clear that we have captured the amendments by Colombia. Colombia, are you there so that I can read out the amendments to make sure that I have captured everything of your amendments? Okay, I see you are there. Okay, good. So in decision 20AA, little letter A, you want to change the original implementation by interpretation. Then in letter B, you would read, subject to external funding, and undertake an assessment of all information shared by parties instead of study. Under C, you would compile the information received from parties under 20AA little a and the assessment under 20BB little b and provide a summary and all information provided by parties for consideration by the Standing Committee and Animals and Plants Committees. That's how I understood it. Then on the BB, you would want to have it, the Animals and Plants Committees shall consider the summary of and all information provided by parties under decision 20AA and C, and then it remains, and under decision 20CC directed to the Standing Committee, the Standing Committee shall consider the summary of all the information provided parties in decision 20AA, and the rest remains. Is that correct?
Sí, señor presidente.
Okay, so now we will proceed to the second vote. This is a vote for agenda item 102. It is a vote on the second set of decisions, and I will read them out so that everyone is clear what you are voting on. So, first decision directed to the Secretariat 20AA, the Secretariat shall issue a notification inviting parties to submit information on their interpretation of criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP 17, their experiences of using criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP 17, when compiling or evaluating a listing proposal, and any problems or benefits regarding interpretation and regulation of the species under CITES resulting from lookalike listings. B, subject to external funding, undertake an assessment of all information shared by parties with case studies as appropriate on the application and implementation of criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution 924, Ref CoP 17, examining the proposals to list species under this criterion, the conservation benefits and risks for both the target species and the lookalike species of including or not lookalike species in Appendix II, and achievements or challenges associated with the implementation of the listing. Compile the information received from parties under 20AA little a and the assessment under 20BB little b.
No, it should, sorry.
So, 20AA little b, and provide a summary and all information provided by parties for consideration by the Standing Committee and the Animals and Plants Committees, including reflections on the potential need for further guidance on the matter. Then decision 20BB directed to the Animals and Plants Committees. The Animals and Plants Committees shall consider the summary of all information provided and all information provided by parties under decision 20AA little a and little c, and other relevant information, and make recommendations in relation to the implementation of criterion A of Annex 2B of Resolution Conf 924, Ref CoP 17, for consideration to the Standing Committee as appropriate. And Decision 20CC, directed to the Standing Committee. The Standing Committee shall consider the summary and all information provided by parties in Decision 20AA, little a and little c, other relevant information and recommendations of the Animals and Plants Committee, and shall submit recommendations for consideration to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. So this is the set of decision you will now have to vote on, but I see the United Kingdom. You have the floor.
Apologies, Chair, but it's missing the amendments that we made on the floor to the draft decision 20 AAB little I, where we inserted some language which we would still like to have as part of the decision, please. Do you need me to repeat it, or do you have that?
I have it in front of me. Sorry about that. Yes, it would in 20AA, little b, little ii, it would read the conservation, administrative, regulatory, compliance and enforcement benefits and risks with respect to both the target species and the lookalike species of including or not lookalike species in Appendix II. And Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente, y mil disculpas por volver a pedir la información. Mis colegas de la región me hicieron caer en cuenta que en el 20AA, en el literal A, se había leído interpretación y nosotros sugerimos aplicación. Solamente para dar esa claridad. Gracias y disculpas.
So you would in 20AA, little a, issue a notification inviting parties to submit information on their implementation of criterion. Is that correct? Colombia?
Así es, señor presidente, aplicación en lugar de interpretación. Y si pudiera ser posible, porque hay algunas dudas sobre el 20BB, si lo pudiéramos leer de nuevo, mil disculpas.
The decision 20BB, right?
20BB.
So 20BB, the Animals and Plants Committees shall consider the summary and all information provided by parties on the decision 20AA, little a and c, and other relevant information, and make recommendations in relation to the implementation of criterion A of Annex 2B of ResConf 924 for consideration to the Standing Committee as appropriate. Is that correct?
Sí, señor presidente.
Okay. So you have now heard the decisions, and I don't think I need to read them out again. I think we are pretty clear what we are voting on. So this is a vote for this set of decisions. The voting type is by normal vote. The vote of the European will be cast by the individual member states. As this is a substantive matter, it requires a 2/3 majority. So could you please all get seated and don't walk around anymore, please? Okay, we are ready. So parties, you have now 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is open now. Could you please display the results on the screen? The results is 79 parties in favor of the set of decision and 40 against, with 10 abstentions. So the set of decision did not reach a two-thirds majority, and therefore the committee did not reach a conclusion on document CoP20 102, did not reach any decisions, so that's what we will be reporting to plenary. Could you please display the parties? Yeah, thank you. Okay, with this, we move on to the next agenda item, which is, I see Senegal. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. C'était une précision seulement. Tout à l'heure, des questions ont été posées sur, au cas où il y a un rejet des deux propositions de décision, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Je pense que cette question devrait être posée avant le début du vote. Dès que le vote a commencé, il ne faudrait pas qu'on pose des questions, on passe directement au vote. Parce que le fait de poser cette question peut influencer ou non le choix des partis. Et je pense qu'il est nécessaire, quand le président a accepté qu'on va en vote, on va en vote directement pour les deux décisions, directement, sans commentaire des partis sur est-ce que ça va avoir des impacts ou pas. Ça, c'est avant le vote. Le consensus aussi recherché, c'est avant le vote.
Thank you, Senegal. I agree, and you will have to excuse my inexperience in voting procedures. I've learned my lesson, so I will certainly try to do it better the next time. Thank you. So as I said, we will move now on to the next agenda item, which is COP20 Doc 112, higher tax on listing in the appendices. The committee is invited to indicate if they support the proposed amendment to paragraph 2F of Resolution Conf 1211, Ref COP19 on standard nomenclature contained in paragraph 14A of the document, and the proposed deletion of decisions 19272 and 19273. So I open the floor for any comments on this. I see the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, dear Chair. Russia would say at the beginning that we disagree with replacement by the species list by the higher taxon list. And I will try to explain it in concrete examples. In my opinion, such a proposition for the replacement of the species list by a higher taxon list is very good for the monotypical higher taxa. When we have species belonging to the monotypical genus, and monotypical genus could belong to the monotypical family. So all information is already in one name of the higher taxon. The good example of such monotypical taxon is, for example, Madagascan genus Daubentonian madagascariensis, or II. We know this lemur. So in this case, we can use higher taxon to full information about the species too. The same could be for Aliga taxa, when genus includes just few species, like Adansonia, for example, in plants, or pangolins in animals. That's good. But when we have polytypical higher taxa, for example, the genus Rana, which includes from 50 to 100 species, and just few of them should be in a CITES list. So when we are listing Rana SPP as a higher taxon, it is just empty sound without any information. So we would prefer to have longer list, but with particular taxa, rather than shorter list, but with formal taxons. In fact, we are trying to protect particular species, but not formal nomenclatorial taxa. And in our opinion, it should be pointed out here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russia, for that comment. I have the European Union.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We support the amendment to Resolution Conf 1211 Rev CoP 19 as proposed in the document and agreed by the Animals Committee and Plants Committee, as they add clarity to the resolution, and we also agree to delete decision 19.272 and 19.273. Nevertheless, we note that the topic is complex and that it is generally difficult to imagine all the different scenarios of taxonomic changes and their implications on higher taxon listings. Therefore, we would see merit in the development of a simple graphic or scheme illustrating these scenarios to assist the work of the nomenclature specialists and the technical committees, for example, as annexed to the resolution or on the CITES website, subject to available resources. However, this is only a suggestion that might be taken up if deemed useful and if capacities allow for, but this is not a proposal for dedicated decisions, to be clear on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, European Union, and for your suggestion, which is certainly not forgotten. So I have now Congo. Congo, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Congo s'oppose à l'inscription du taxon supérieur parce que s'il faudrait distinguer les espèces, on ne devrait pas seulement s'arrêter au taxon supérieur. Et c'est d'ailleurs pour ça, si, comme a dit la Russie, c'est pour des genres où c'est des genres monospécifiques, il n'y a pas de problème. Mais quand nous avons des genres où on a plusieurs espèces, on ne peut pas s'arrêter à un taxon supérieur pour décider de la vulnérabilité ou quoi que ce soit sur une espèce. Donc, pour ça, le Congo s'oppose et joint sa voix à celle de la Russie. Merci.
Thank you, Congo. I see DRC, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole. Nous nous joignons également à la voix de la Russie et des collègues du Congo-Brazzaville parce qu'il y a des spécificités qui sont très importantes et que nous nous opposons sincèrement à la question de classification basée sur un taxon supérieur. Merci.
Thank you. I would like to ask you to focus on the amendments to Resolution 12.11 and tell us if you're in agreement with them. I don't think we need to discuss here now whether genus or higher taxon listings are warranted or not. We have to agree on the changes in the resolution as they are proposed by the Animals Committee. So please bear with me and focus on the changes in the resolution and whether you are in agreement with the deletion of the decisions. So I give now the floor to Senegal. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal soutient les amendements tels que le document l'a souligné, parce que nous pensons que ça facilite non seulement la mise en œuvre. Quand il y a des spécificités assez techniques, il serait beaucoup difficile de pouvoir mener correctement le travail sur le terrain, d'autant plus que ceux qui vont, certains n'ont pas les capacités techniques pour pouvoir véritablement distinguer les espèces. Et c'est pourquoi il est bien d'accepter les amendements de ce document pour que le taxon supérieur soit annexé. Merci.
Thank you. Now I open the floor to the United States. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States also supports the proposed amendments to the resolution and subsequently would support the deletion of the decisions. So we align with Senegal and the EU.
Thank you, United States. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada notes the good and useful discussion that is reflected in this document, and we support the recommendations. We also agrees with the EU comments, which we would like to welcome the Secretariat views on how to ensure this information is easily accessible to parties as they consider possible proposal in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. I see Gabon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous allons être brefs. Le Gabon ne soutient pas l'adoption des amendements proposés dans le document COP20 Doc 112 et nous nous alignons sur les positions de la Russie, de la RDC et du Congo. Merci.
Thank you, Gabon. I didn't understand the intervention of Russia to be in a position to the changes proposed in this document. Otherwise, I would have to hear that because I thought this was a general comment, and I didn't understand it to be in opposition to the changes proposed in this document. So, if Russia could please clarify whether they are in opposition to the changes proposed in this document. So, Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Yes, we are in opposition, because my general comments, in my opinion, clearly explained the position. We disagree with high taxon listing replacing the species list. So this whole sentence in disagreement with our position.
Thank you, Russia. I see Argentina. Argentina, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nosotros nos sumamos al apoyo para adoptar las enmiendas a la resolución 12.11. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. I do think we need some clarification here. Maybe if the nomenclature specialist is in the room, that he could please explain what we are really changing in this paragraph, and what that would have to do with listing of higher taxon listings. So please, nomenclature specialist, you have the floor, just that everyone is clear what we are looking at here.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to all. This document is actually the end result of a long conversation in the Plants and Animals committees, as well as the Standing Committee. It does not in any way affect the ability for the parties to list higher taxa in the appendices. It very simply clarifies when the nomenclature specialists may perhaps propose converting a species listing to a higher taxon listing, or a higher taxon listing to individual species listings, exactly consistent with the intervention from the gentleman from Russia. Thank you, Chair. I hope that clarifies.
Thank you very much. It's just a procedural clarification in the resolution. It doesn't in any way hinder or force parties to do higher taxon listings. So with this, I open the floor for other comments, because we are not in agreement yet to adopt these recommendations, these changes to the resolution. So I need some more interventions that guide me on where we are going. So Central African Republic, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine s'oppose à cette proposition. Par contre, soutient l'intervention de la Russie, du Gabon, de la RDC et bien d'autres. Merci.
Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia is supportive of the amendments to the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mali. Mali, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Mali remercie le comité permanent ainsi que les spécialistes de la nomenclature botanique et géologique pour le travail réalisé dans le cadre de la mise en œuvre des décisions 19-272 et 19-273. Toutefois, le Mali exprime des réserves et ne soutient pas l'amendement proposé pour les raisons suivantes. Respect des critères scientifiques éprouvés de la résolution conférence 924, révisée COP17. Les critères actuels d'inscription aux annexes reposent sur une approche scientifique robuste validée. Toute initiative visant à étendre l'inscription à des taxons supérieurs risque d'affaiblir la rigueur scientifique et de créer des incertitudes dans l'évaluation des espèces. Il risque de remise en cause d'inscriptions existantes, comme souligné lors des examens menés par le comité pour les animaux et le comité pour les plantes. L'adoption d'une approche large par les taxons supérieures pourrait entraîner une reclassification non souhaitée de certaines espèces déjà inscrites, compromettant ainsi les acquis en matière de conservation. Je vous remercie.
I have Kenya. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya supports the adoption of the amendments to the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. Philippines.
Thank you, Chair. The Philippines as well supports the adoption of the amendments.
Thank you, Philippines. Mexico.
Gracias, señor presidente. México también apoya las recomendaciones del documento. Gracias.
What did they oppose? Support. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We'd just like to say that we support the adoption of the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? I would like now to open the floor to IGOs and NGOs on this matter. Please press your button if you want to intervene. I would like to give the floor to the Secretariat to add some more clarification on what we are really looking at here.
Thank you, Chair. And just to further elaborate what the nomenclature specialist already explained, this is not a proposed amendment to Resolution Conf 924. It's a proposed amendment to the Resolution on Standard Nomenclature. And it addressed any proposed change in the name of a taxon already included in the appendices. And the aim is to ensure that the original intent when the species was listing is maintained. So that if there are taxonomic changes, so changes in the names of the taxons, there will be a process to evaluate those. And the process just provides that if needed, there should be a proposal submitted to the Conference of Parties to implement any changes. And the aim is to, as I mentioned, to maintain the original intent when the species was listed. So I think there were a lot of comments about concerns about higher taxon listings, but this is not what the amendment is addressing. So I just wanted to make that further clarification.
Thank you, Secretariat. I see the Russian Federation.
Thank you very much, Chair and the Secretary and the Peter, of course, for the comments on nomenclature. Well, in this case, Russia can agree with the suggestion on the paragraph 11, but we still consist to be more precise in the formulation, in the general formulation of this whole sentence. I mean, for example, there is a very sensible paragraph, number 6, little 8. When we are listing in the higher taxa, all newly described taxa, all newly discovered later taxa automatically became in CITES list, which is not good in my opinion, because before including such a species in the list, you have to make study and monitoring on it, at least at the beginning. So we cannot be formal in this aspect, and probably to be more precise in formulation. As I told already about different level of higher taxa. It would be better, in my opinion, to mention precisely to which taxa, higher taxa, we can do it, and to which better do not do that. I hope it is clear.
Thank you very much, Russian Federation, for your agreement on the changes proposed. Normally we cannot change the text in the documents that have been published and seen by the parties, but we will certainly note your comments and your suggestions in the summary record to make sure that it is captured. Russian Federation.
Thank you very much. I hope at least the idea suggested by me about the definition of monotypical, oligotypical, and polytypical higher taxa will be later discussed and probably included in the general text. I think it will facilitate later the process of species listing in the main CITES list. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russia. As Russia now is in agreement with the amendments, do the other parties who have supported Russia also consider being in agreement with the changes as proposed in the document? Can I hear some of these parties if they maintain their opposition? Congo?
Effectivement, le Congo maintient sa position d'opposition à cet amendement.
Central African Republic.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La République centrafricaine maintient son opposition.
Tchad.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Tchad, comme le Congo et la RCA, maintient son opposition. Merci.
Okay, sensing the room, I think we do have a large majority of parties who are in favor of adopting the changes in this document. So my conclusion is that Committee 1 is supporting, so is accepting the changes as laid out in the document in paragraph 14a, and also is in agreement with the deletion of decisions 19272 and 19273. And also that we note the comments made by the Russian Federation, which are supported by various countries relating to higher tax on. Okay. So we move on to the next agenda item, which is CoP20 Doc 71, Assessment of Appendix I Species. So the committee is asked to note the report and the recommendations by the Animals and Plants Committees and to delete the decisions 19184 and 19185. So I open the floor for any comments on this matter. I see the European Union. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We thank the Secretariat, the Animals and Plants Committee, and dedicated working groups for the extensive work that was spent for this process, including the development and refinement of methodologies and criteria to prioritize Appendix I species and to identify key measures needed to improve their status. The comprehensive case studies showed that most of the identified threats to Appendix I species actually fall out of the mandate of CITES. The effort that has been put into this process overall seemed not proportionate to the additional value of this exercise to already existing processes and resolutions. Considering available resources and the cost-benefit relationship, we fully support the conclusion of the Animals and Plants Committees that there is no merit to continue this work. Instead, capacities should be used to support and strengthen existing tools, such as the periodic review, the captive breeding review under Resolution 17.7. So finally, the EU fully supports deletion of decisions 19.184 to 19.185. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I now open the floor for IGOs and NGOs if they want to intervene. I don't see any, so my conclusion is that the committee notes the report and the recommendations by the Animals and Plants Committees and is in agreement with the deletion of decisions 19814 to 19885. 19184 to 19185. Okay, thank you very much. So now we are moving to the next agenda item, which we will start in the next half an hour. It is on the proposal to amend the appendices 1 and 2. It's proposal 46 on Pau Brasilia echinata, the Brazil wood. I would open the floor to Brazil to introduce that document. Just to be clear, I will open the document of the proposal first and see where we are going. And depending on what I hear from the floor, I may then also open the second document on Pau Brasilia echinata, which is document 97, and see if we can merge or get these two topics together, and we may then have to have a working group. But before we do so, I would like to listen first to the proposal itself and to the reactions of parties, and see if there is will for compromise, if there is will to move forward on this issue, because I know it's a very contentious issue. That's how I intend to proceed here. So with this, I open the floor to Brazil to introduce their document. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So Brazil takes its very name from the Brazil wood tree, Pau Brasilia echinata, an endemic species only exists in Brazil from the Atlantic rainforest that symbolizes both national identity and legacy of colonial exploitation, shaping the country's history and natural heritage. The United Nations General Assembly has mandated its conservation. UN Resolution A79-313 on tackling illicit wildlife trafficking highlights the need for measures against trade threatening rare timber species, including Brazil wood. The species faces a severe population decline, largely due to illegal extraction for manufacturing bows for string instruments. Only an estimated 10,000 mature individuals remain, many isolated populations with low regenerative capacity. Recent enforcement operations in Brazil have uncovered sophisticated timber laundering schemes. As documented in Notification 2025-76 and Information Document CoP20 Inf. 46, criminal networks rely on fraudulent technical reports, falsified inventories, and virtual stock credits to conceal true origin of high-quality native wood. This document also describes airport seizures of illicit Brazil wood blanks transport in luggage, illustrating ongoing traffic pressure. Cutting wild trees from Brazil wood is prohibited by Brazilian law, and since 2022, no legal exports of Brazil wood violins have left the country. Yet illicit activities continues, threatening not only the species' survival, but also the legitimacy of global supply chain integrity in the musical instrument sector, which requires strong traceability. In response to this critical scenario and motivated by the urgent need to ensure long-term conservation, Brazil has submitted proposal to transfer Brazil wood to CITES Appendix I as the most effective measure to control commercial movement of violin bows. Brazil acknowledges the concerns of musicians and orchestras regarding potential impacts on the international movement of instruments. For this reason, it seeks a balanced approach that strengthens conservation while protecting legitimate non-commercial use. Resolution Conf 13.7 Rev CoP18 on personal and household effects offers a basis for legal certainty regarding non-commercial cross-border movement of musical instruments. Brazil also emphasized that the responsibility of musicians in the species' current predicament. There is no concrete evidence in Brazil of any violin bows produced from plantation-grown trees, suggesting that most existing Brazil wood bow originated from illegally harvested wild trees. Musicians must be informed of this reality as they form part of the commercial chain. These issues are detailed in information document CoP20 Inf. 46, which also proposes complementary measures to promote transparency, traceability, and legal certainty, items that should be discussed in item 97. This includes amendments to Resolution Conf 17.3 to improve regulatory clarity and harmonize reporting obligations, a formal registration system for all existing stocks of Brazil wood and blanks, support for marking and identification systems, enabling individual item traceability, enhanced monitoring of commercial plantations in partnership with governmental and non-governmental actors, and implementation of Decision 19.249 to 253 to improve stock oversight, reporting, and verification mechanism. Given the global nature of the trade, Brazil underscored the need for cooperation among all parties. Effective conservation depends on stronger import controls, improved documentation, and active engagement by consuming countries in verifying the legality of commercial ball exports. Guided by the evidence and recommendation in COP20 Inf. Doc 46, Brazil requests the support of all members of this convention for its proposal, aiming to protect its emblematic and historical species while respecting the cultural significance of music and traditions. Brazil remains open to dialogue to reconcile enhanced trade controls with promotion of cultural activities. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Brazil, for this introduction. I now open the floor to comments from parties. I see Argentina, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Argentina apoya plenamente esta propuesta. Es una especie del apéndice I muy importante para Brasil y consideramos que está ampliamente justificada. Perdón, me olvidé de decir que esta propuesta es apoyada por toda la región de Centroamérica, del Sur y el Caribe aquí presente. Gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. I now see China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. China supports Brazil's Proposal 46 to transfer Pau Brasileira Echinata from Appendix II to Appendix I. We acknowledge the information provided on illegal exploitation and uncontrolled trade, which highlights the importance of strengthening in situ conservation and management by the ranch states. China is ready to enhance international cooperation with Brazil and other parties, sharing experiences and supporting sustainable management practices to advance forest conservation efforts. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, China. I see European Union.
Thank you, Chair. The European Union and its member states share Brazil's concern about Brazil wood and the need to ensure the survival of the species, as well as sustainability and legality of trade through meaningful measures. At the same time, we recognize the importance of this species for musical instruments and the relevance of this listing proposal for traveling musicians. Taking note of the interventions made and the information document 46 provided by Brazil, we do have specific suggestions. And to deal with these in an efficient manner, we propose an in-session working group to look into options regarding listing proposal 46 and working document 97, taking into account the need for stronger protection while preventing unwanted side effects. If the chair prefers, however, to discuss these matters on the floor, we can, of course, make alternative suggestions here. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I see India. India, you have the floor.
Efforts being taken by Brazil with regard to the conservation of Brazil wood. India fully supports the stand of Brazil with regard to the proposal COP20 Doc 97 on Brazil wood. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India. The UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom would like to thank Brazil for this proposal and their engagement prior to and during the Conference of the Parties. We fully appreciate the concerns that have motivated this proposal and recognise the cultural, ecological and historical significance of Proud Brasilia echinata, a species of great importance not only to Brazil, but also to musicians and instrument makers around the world. Sustainable use of this species is vital to both biodiversity and the future of music craftsmanship. Whilst we acknowledge that Proud Brasilia echinata appears to meet the biological criteria, we have concerns that the proposal as drafted would not address the primary drivers of decline and would bring disproportionate impacts on thousands of legitimate users. It is not clear how the transfer of Proud Brasilia echinata from Appendix II to Appendix I will bring particular conservation benefits. Brazil's domestic legislation already prohibits the exploitation of wild specimens as set out in the proposal, but it is not clear that including the species on Appendix I would have a conservation benefit, as these illegal supply chains are already established outside the scope of CITES controls. By contrast, the proposal would introduce significant negative impacts. It would introduce heavy administrative burdens on authorities and restrictions on the movements for performance and second-hand sale of hundreds of thousands of finished bows, as well as affect bow makers who work exclusively with pre-convention or plantation-grown wood, materials that do not contribute to current threats. The UK is committed to ensuring that any decisions made under CITES strike a balance between conservation priorities while allowing the legitimate use of sustainable source materials. We believe that practical measures such as enhanced traceability systems, improving enforcement capacity, and supporting sustainable plantation use will be more effective than an uplisting. For these reasons, the UK does not support the inclusion of Proud Brasilia echinata on Appendix I. We'd be open to the consideration of an amended Appendix II annotation and would like to collaborate with Brazil and other interested parties to explore options to strengthen protections for Proud Brasilia echinata while reducing unnecessary burdens. With that in mind, we would further support the formation of an in-session working group as proposed by the EU to discuss these issues further and the draft decisions in document 97. Thank you.
Thank you, UK. I see the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы поддерживаем предложение Бразилии о переносе вида бразильского дерева в первое приложение. С учетом критического состояния вида, предлагаемые меры представляются оправданными для предотвращения дальнейшего снижения популяции. Мы также отмечаем наличие решений, позволяющих облегчить некоммерческое перемещение музыкальных инструментов в особых случаях, и в этой связи считаем возможным принять поправки в резолюцию 13.7, изложенные в информационном документе Бразилии номер 46. Спасибо.
Thank you, Russian Federation. I have Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Chair. Republic of Korea emphasizes Brazil's concerns on Brazilwood and support the efforts of the governments of Brazil to conserve Brazilwood. However, we express the concerns of our music stakeholders regarding the proposed reclassification of Brazilwood from Appendix II to Appendix I, as they fear this change would create undue hardship and burden. Thank you.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. I have Indonesia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Given the species' extremely restricted natural distribution, severe population decline, and continued international trade pressures, Indonesia believes Appendix I listing is necessary to ensure its survival. Indonesia therefore supports the uplisting of Proud Brasilia echinata to Appendix I. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Then I have Canada. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We recognize that this species is critically endangered and is an endemic species that is culturally significant for Brazil. However, we do agree with the comments by the UK that there are further considerations that are worth exploring through an in-session working group to ensure that we have a good path forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Canada. Burkina Faso.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons noté avec intérêt les explications qui ont été données par le Brésil. Et nous voyons à quel point cette espèce est menacée. Et nous comprenons également et nous apprécions les mesures qui ont été proposées par le Brésil, en tout cas pour régler certains cas. Donc, par conséquent, nous soutenons la proposition du Brésil. Merci.
Thank you, Burkina Faso. I have Pakistan now.
Thank you, Chair. Given the habitat reduction and severe logging reported by Brazil, Pakistan expresses its support for proposal number 46 to uplist Brazil wood from Appendix II to Appendix I of CITES. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Mexico now.
Gracias, señor presidente. México también apoya la propuesta de Brasil. Gracias.
Japan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Japan fully recognizes the importance of conserving Brazil wood. However, an overly hasty uplisting could have serious impact for industry. To achieve both protection and sustainable use, establishing a robust management system for Brazil wood is essential. By doing this, we will provide a practical and sustainable solution that supports music culture, including instrument manufacturing, while ensuring the species protection. It is fully aligned with the principles of CITES. And therefore, Japan cannot support an immediate move of Brazil wood to Appendix I. And we support the idea of creating a working group that EU has proposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Japan. United States of America.
Thank you, Chair. While we appreciate the aims of this proposal, we are concerned that including Brazil wood in Appendix I would not address the core domestic enforcement challenges, such as illegal harvests concealed by fraudulent plantation permits and false pre-convention claims, and may spur further illegal trade. The United States believes that retaining the species in Appendix II and improving traceability and management of pre-convention material and traceability systems for plantation wood will more effectively reduce illegal trade and protect wild populations in the long run. At the same time, we observe that the current exemption, which waives CITES documentation requirements for re-exports of certain specimens for any purpose after they are exported from Brazil, may undermine international protections by enabling re-exports once items illegally leave Brazil. As such, we would be open to facilitating amendments to the current annotation in an effort to try to close this loophole, and we possibly including retaining the species in Appendix II, possibly with a zero quota. And we would also support I know it's the next agenda item, and when we'll have someone else speaking on that, but we also think that doing the amendments to the annotation and further supporting the decisions in CoP20 Doc 97 will actually be better for the species conservation in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I have Australia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia acknowledges the concerns of Brazil regarding the conservation status of the species and the importance of further protections. Noting the interventions made by other parties, we would support the suggestion by the EU for an in-session working group. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Australia. I now have Sudan.
Thank you, Chair. Sudan fully support Brazil proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudan. I have Mali.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, je tiens à réaffirmer le soutien du Mali au Brésil, compte tenu de toutes les informations fournies par le Brésil et aussi compte tenu de l'état critique de l'espèce et de sa posture endémique. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mali. I have Rwanda.
Thank you, Chair. And since Rwanda is taking its first intervention in this committee, I would like to thank the government of Uzbekistan for the home hospitality, and also thank you, the Secretariat, for the work done for these documents. Rwanda aligns its position with Brazil, and we are into support of this proposal regarding that the number of this species and its isolation is quietly putting this species on a high risk of extinction. So we support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Rwanda. I have Senegal.
Le Sénégal prend la parole pour demander aux partis de féliciter le Brésil d'avoir eu le courage de vouloir protéger une espèce endémique chez lui. Je crois qu'on ne devrait pas discuter très longtemps, dans la mesure que le document est clair, qu'il y a eu une baisse drastique des populations, et donc il faut aller au niveau supérieur de protection. Merci.
It's Côte d'Ivoire now.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Chers délégués, le Pro-Brasilia equinata, le bois de Pernambouc, c'est bien plus qu'une espèce botanique. C'est l'emblème d'une nation et l'âme de la musique classique mondiale. Pourtant, les faits exposés par le Brésil sont sans appel. L'espèce est aujourd'hui en danger critique d'extinction. Nous constatons que l'annexe 2 n'a pas suffi. Malgré les régulations, des milliers d'archers continuent d'alimenter un marché international opaque nourri par une exploitation illégale qui pille les derniers vestiges de la forêt atlantique. Nous ne pouvons pas accepter que la musique se fasse au prix de la destruction irréversible d'une espèce. Le transfert en annexe 1 est la seule mesure technique capable de briser cette filière criminelle. Par devoir de conservation, je vous invite donc à voter pour la proposition 46 que la Côte d'Ivoire soutient. Merci.
I have Nigeria. Afterwards, I'm going to close the speakers list for parties. So please, Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Nigeria acknowledges the information provided by Brazil to list these species in Appendix I and the measures taken to protect this species. We share their concerns and hereby support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Monaco.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Prenant la parole pour la première fois, je remercie le gouvernement d'Ouzbékistan pour l'organisation de cette conférence et vous félicite pour votre présidence. Je remercie aussi le secrétariat et je félicite donc le Brésil pour cette proposition. Monaco soutient pleinement cette proposition d'inscription. Merci.
Now I have Malaysia.
Thank you, Chair. Malaysia would like to support Brazil's proposal. Thank you.
Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania supports transfer from Appendix 2 to Appendix 1 of the species in order to enhance protection from illegal wood trade. Thank you, Chair.
Now I have Guatemala.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente, por otorgarnos la palabra. Pues, como país miembro de la regional de Centroamérica, Suramérica y el Caribe, queremos reiterar nuestro apoyo a Brasil. Queremos recordar a todas las partes que esta es una especie endémica Y quién más que Brasil conoce el contexto de esta especie en este país. Entonces reiteramos la importancia de proteger esta especie y de trasladar la especie del apéndice 2 al apéndice 1. Gracias.
Now I would like to ask Suriname.
Thank you, Chair. Suriname supports Brazil proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. And Comores, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les Comores, comme les autres pays, appuient fortement la proposition du Brésil pour la protection de cette espèce. Merci beaucoup.
So I have heard a lot of support, but I have also heard a call from several parties to have a in-session working group to see if we can find a compromise forward solution. And I think this is where I might want to go. But before that, we will also have to open document CoP20 Doc 97, which we will do just after lunch. So on the way forward on this proposal, I will at the moment then adjourn the debate on this proposal and then open document 97. And based off what I hear there, then we can more precisely shape the mandate for an in-session working group, something which I think would be quite helpful to reach a consensus on this matter that I think is important to many parties. So with this, I think we can. And also something I wanted to do is also invite some IGOs and NGOs to express their views. We haven't had time to do so now, unless I have the indulgence of the interpreters for some more 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. So I would now open the floor for IGOs and NGOs. I see SSN, you have the floor.
Gracias, presidente. Esta intervención es a nombre de SSN y otras organizaciones. Pasaré la lista completa. No cabe duda que para Brasil cumple los criterios de inclusión para el apéndice 1. Es una especie en peligro de extinción que ha perdido 87% de su población en las últimas 3 generaciones. Es una especie endémica y el árbol nacional de Brasil. Este es un clarísimo ejemplo del objetivo y mandato de las CITES. Preservar, conservar y proteger las especies y que el comercio internacional no ponga en peligro su existencia. La legislación brasileña no permite la extracción de palo Brasil en su hábitat natural. Por lo tanto, toda extracción es ilegal. Desafortunadamente, los traficantes aprovechan las lagunas legales en las regulaciones nacionales e internacionales, incluidas las CITES, para blanquear y exportar madera manufacturada para la industria musical. Entre el 2002 y el 2022 se exportaron 45,000 varetas de pavo Brasil desde Brasil. La mayoría de los arcos y varetas vendidos por empresas brasileñas en los últimos 25 años probablemente provienen de fuentes ilegales, ocultadas mediante informes fraudulentos, uso indebido de documentos preconvención u operaciones engañosas pretendiendo que provienen de árboles de supuestas plantaciones. No ha habido permisos desde el 2022.
SSN, can you please come to a close? We have 2 minutes past.
Yes. Sí, señor presidente. La anotación 10 no ha sido suficiente para detener y resolver este problema. Por lo tanto, le pedimos a todas las partes que apoyen esta propuesta para subir el apéndice 1 a Pau Brasil. Gracias.
Thank you. I have now the International Society of Violin and Bow Makers. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I represent the International Society of Violin and Bow Makers, the International Pernambuco Conservation Initiative USA, the International Alliance of Violin and Bow Makers for Endangered Species, and the American Federation of Violin and Bow Makers. The members of these organizations are artisanal bow makers from across the United States, Europe, and Asia. As the parties weigh the best solution, we'd like to note the following. The organizations I represent fully agree with Brazil that the illegal trafficking of Pau Brasilia echinata absolutely must be stopped. We work with our members to build awareness of CITES and to promote compliance with applicable laws. For more than 25 years, bow makers have also been working with Brazilian partners, including the government, to conserve Pernambuco through support for science and agroforestry projects. This work continues today as we've just begun a partnership with the Federal University of Southern Bahia to create the species' first ever seed bank. Every day, Pernambuco bows enrich musical life and uplift our human experience across the globe. Alternatives to Pernambuco have been studied and tested for centuries. No other material has been shown to offer the same combination of acoustic qualities, strength, and elasticity required to achieve comparable sound quality. These bows also have long lives, remaining in use and in trade for decades, if not centuries. Because documentation has not been required, it often doesn't exist. A listing that would impose permit requirements on the large universe of existing finished bows crossing borders to be played, sold, or repaired daily would create an unmanageable administrative burden, much like the Rosewood listing did after COP17, while having a potentially devastating effect on the nearly 250-year-old art of bow making, on musicians, and on stringed instrument music as we know it, all with little apparent relationship to conservation of the species. We believe instead that the pathway outlined by the parties to COP19 and Standing Committee 78 and in the Secretariat's report Fine-Tuning Traceability, if strengthened and implemented, offers the best opportunity to protect both the species and the art of stringed instrument music. The music sector supports creation of a working group and is ready to contribute its knowledge and experience and to work in partnership with CITES partners to find a balanced solution. Thank you.
Thank you, International Society of Bow Makers. I have Argentina. Argentina, is it a procedural question, Argentina?
Gracias, señor presidente. Nosotros queremos manifestar que consideramos que hubo suficiente apoyo en esta sala como para aprobar la propuesta directamente sin necesidad de ir a ningún grupo de trabajo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. We will come back to that just after lunch. So I don't think we will go further on this one at the moment. So I still have traffic. Traffic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This intervention is on behalf of Traffic and IUCN. Pau Brasilia echinata is a slow-growing tree endemic to Brazil's Atlantic forest, assessed as endangered by the IUCN and as critically endangered nationally, with an estimated population reduction of more than 80% over the past 3 generations and ongoing fragmentation of its remaining wild populations. Despite long-standing protection and prohibitions on wild harvest, there is continuing illegal trade to supply international demand for high-quality bow wood. With limited evidence of sustainable plantation production and the species' biological vulnerability, Brazil wood meets both the biological and trade criteria for inclusion in Appendix I. If parties have practical concerns about implementation, retaining the species in Appendix II with an amended annotation number 10 to remove exemptions and a zero export quota for wild-sourced specimens could also provide strengthened trade control while maintaining the use of musical instrument certificates for non-commercial movements. It is also important to note that improving traceability systems, as well as the effective use of MIX and the source code P, will be key to ensuring that such measures do not overcomplicate trade in sectors such as the musical one. If these tools are strengthened and made more efficient, the listing should not hinder musicians or orchestras, while ensuring the species receives the protection it urgently needs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ayusian. So with this, I would like to adjourn the debate until this afternoon after lunch, and wish you, do we have any housekeeping announcements? Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Two announcements to the room. The working group on Boswellia species will take place at 12:15 p.m. in the Blackstalk room. So it's been moved from the Manul to the Blackstalk room. And the drafting group on songbirds, scheduled to take place from 12:15 to 12:45, will be in the Manul room. Tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. And before going to lunch, I would like to thank the interpreters for their indulgence and for helping us move forward. So with this, I wish all a good lunch. Thank you.